Good afternoon. My name is Mark Boyle, and I would like to welcome all of you and thank all of you for being here for what we think is a very special announcement. Now, today we announce new investments for the expansion of this program to serve many more in Marion County and around the state of Indiana. The impressive technology that Gleaners is using to give people access with dignity, and the innovative approach by the city parks to use facilities like this to meet people where they are in a more all-encompassing manner. Today we celebrate Drive and Dish, presented by Gleaners2Go. Pacers Sports and Entertainment is committed to so many meaningful causes, but there is arguably no more important issue than the issue of food insecurity. I would like to recognize the entire Simon family, including Rachel, who is behind me and will speak to us shortly, Mr. Stephen Rales, one of our owners at PS&E, Mel Raines, our CEO, is here today, Todd Taylor, our President of Business Operations, and several additional members of our organization are here today too. We would also like to recognize some folks for their generous investments, including our head coach, Rick Carlisle, Steve Simon, PS&E's owner and alternate governor, the Indianapolis Colts, the teams at Christa Morehouse and the Edna Martin Center, the City of Indianapolis, 913 Logistics, and Clay South at USA Upstart. We are also grateful to our partners, Fred Glass, Joe Slater, and the team from Gleaners, and Phyllis Boyd and her team from the City of Indianapolis Parks. Drive and Dish originated because one individual in our organization asked us to think seriously about the issue of food insecurity and challenged us to form the right partnership to make the most impact. He is here today, and it is my pleasure to introduce the head coach of the Indiana Pacers, Rick Carlisle.
You guys hear me okay? You notice Mark was paying extra close attention to his script. Last year he called this initiative Dine and Dash 2 or 3 times before we were able to correct him. More than once. It took about 1.5 years of thinking about, of looking at different things, different possible things to do in Indianapolis. Corey Wilson, who's here today, will speak toward the end, was a very instrumental part of this, trying to find the right thing in Indianapolis to really go after. And of all the things that I had heard about, food insecurity seemed to be the one that was very prevalent and something that touches so many families. In Marion County, it affects 25 to 30% of all people in Marion County. And in the state of Indiana, it affects close to 1 million people. And so that's how this whole thing got started. Today, appreciate Fred being here, Fred Glass from Gleaners, Phyllis Boyd from Indy Parks and Recreation, Rachel, who Mark introduced, and of course, Corey Wilson. I also want to give a special personal thanks to Steve Simon, who's one of our major donors, Clay South, USA Upstart, as Mark mentioned. He was unable to be here today. He's down in Florida with Hurricane Helena, in the middle of that whole thing. The Indianapolis Colts, who've been very gracious with their support. The Pacers Foundation, who has stepped up in a big way. Mark Boyle, who has made a significant contribution to this effort. And because of Mark's contribution, brown eggs are a big part of what people have the availability to get. So Mark is kind of the egg man. And Joe Sunderman from Penn Station Subs. They're going to do a thing probably during All-Star Week this year, a roundup promotion, so more funds can be raised for this. Mark mentioned Christa Morehouse, Edna Martin House, along with 913 Logistics in fiscal 2024. So by the time we get done with December of 2024, there will be over 16,000 boxes of food that have been distributed to families in Marion County, which is an amazing number. So, thanks to those people very much. This newest iteration of Drive and Dish will feature an app from Gleaners called Gleaners2Go. It gives people the opportunity to order exactly what they want. It makes the process much more efficient. It adds an element of dignity and efficiency to the whole thing, and discretion. And we're gonna utilize the Indy Parks system, and Phyllis will talk about that in a few minutes as well. Because of a significant donation from our ownership, Herb Simon, Stephen Rales, I'm not going to get into the exact amount, but it's 8 figures. It will ensure that this program's sustainability over the next several years will be ensured. And so a huge thanks to Mr. Simon, the Simon family, Mr. Rales, for that infusion of capital. It's gonna turn this into, instead of a 16,000 box proposition per year, it's gonna go up over 30,000 to approximately 33,000 boxes of food per year, and will eventually expand to other towns in the state of Indiana. So big thanks to everyone that's here. Big thanks to you. Big thanks to our media corps that's showed up. Tony East is here from Sports Illustrated, Lockdown Pacers, right? Dustin DePirac from the Indy Stars here. Kevin Bowen from the KB and Andy Morning Wake Up, Tuesdays at 8 a.m. Tune in for the Rick Carlisle Show, where anything can happen at any time. And of course, all the folks from the Pacers that are here. Mel was mentioned. Todd, Danny Lopez, appreciate your help with this as well, along with Mike Preston and many others. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Mark here in a second, but the access to quality food should not be a luxury and will not be a luxury in the state of Indiana and in the county of Marion. I mean, we are doing everything we can to take care of people that need it, and really appreciate everyone's support today. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. We are so fortunate to have some of the best people working in philanthropy and not-for-profit service, people whose organizations help make our state stronger and more equitable for everyone. And one of those people is with us today, and several of those people are with us today, but specifically, it's an opportunity to hear from Gleaners President and CEO Fred Glass.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Thanks to the generosity and vision of Coach Carlisle and the Pacers and many others, today is a great day in the history of feeding hungry people in the state of Indiana. I'd like to add my thanks to some of the folks that have already been mentioned, but others. First, Pacers leadership, Steve Simon, Herb Simon, Rachel Simon, and the foundation, Stephen Rales, Danny Lopez, Corey Wilson, and I'd like to point a personal privilege to add Jim Morris to that list. I'd like to think he's looking down with gratitude and pride, on what we're doing today. Thank the Indy Parks, Phyllis, Boyd, the Hogshead administration, and my board chair, Greg Fennig, who also is the board chair of the Indy Parks Alliance, which has really helped facilitate this whole thing. The germ of this idea, the inspiration, if you will, are some things that are going on with the food bank in Las Vegas. We were out there talking to them, and they were saying, what's more important, taking food to people or taking people to food? And I think our inclination is to take food to people to make it convenient, but they made the case that when it's possible, you need to bring the people to the food, because we're facing a food insecurity epidemic in this country, but we're also facing a loneliness epidemic in this country. And if we can utilize food to help bring people to community and fellowship, then we're really doing something. And they were doing that with their local library system. We brought that idea back here, and I think in classic Indianapolis style made it better. did them one better, took it to the next level, as it were. And in partnership with the Pacers, as Coach referenced, we are now expanding the awesome Drive and Dish program to really do 4 fundamental things. 1, provide choice. It's more dignified for people to be able to choose. They can choose culturally familiar food. They can choose food that fits into their diet. They don't take more than they need. Our application will enable them to do that, and with the fulfillment center we have back at Gleaners, we'll be able to fill those orders and turn them around on a weekly basis and bring them here to Frederick Douglass Park and subsequently additional parks in the park system. So we're really excited about choice. We think that's critical. We'll be able to create scale, as Coach referenced. Instead of serving 500 households a week, which we do now, which is awesome, during 2025, we expect that to expand to 1,500 households. We will start with Frederick Douglass Park. We'll have more parks, and so we'll be able to extend this service to more and more people. We'll be able to generate scale. We'll be able to focus on community in the great tradition of what we're doing at Edna Martin and Christamore House. We'll be able to do it here at Frederick Douglass Park and invest and utilize and leverage the investments that the Hogsett administration has been making in the park system with the support of the Lilly Endowment and the Pacers too, with the basketball court program, so building to a strength with the parks. And finally, we hope that by feeding the line, we'll be able to shorten the line. By providing people food and the access to wraparound services, both available here at Frederick Douglass and accessible through our technology to access wraparound services that they need, like diaper banks, like clothing, like healthcare, we'll be able to help people need our services less. So thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you, Coach and Pacers, for spearheading what will be a dramatic and transformative program to help people facing hunger in Indiana. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. It takes a very special person to oversee these kinds of amenities and facilities. Indy's Parks and Family Centers are among the most important resources that we have, and we are very fortunate today to have the Director of Indy Parks and Recreation here to share a few words. Please welcome Phyllis Boyd.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. I'm a little shorter than everyone else. So parks like Frederick Douglass provide residents with a really wide range of programs and activities that enhance the quality of life. Facilities like this mean lots of things to different people, and in many of our parks, that meaning can come from receiving food from one of our pantries or from our after-school programs for city's youth. This partnership with Pacer Sports Entertainment, Coach Carlisle, and Gleaners is going to provide more residents with access to healthy food and build upon the more than 3 million meals that have been served from Indy Parks locations since 2013. It's really fitting that we begin this partnership here at Frederick Douglass Park, which is the largest family center in our city, and I won't say the best because I can't have favorites, but we just opened this up earlier this year, and I really can't think of a better facility to be the hub of this next phase of the Drive and Dish program. So combating food insecurity is by providing free meals is really one of our core programs and one of our essential roles, and we take that very seriously. And as I mentioned, we've provided over millions of meals to Indianapolis residents since 2013 to address this ongoing food security that many face in our city. So today's announcement is so important, not just because it builds on our existing work, but because it will provide fresh produce for even more community members. So I want to thank the Pacer Sports Entertainment, Coach Carlisle, and Gleaners again for this partnership on this really incredible work. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. 41 years is a long time. It goes back to 1983, and that's when the Simon family bought the Indiana Pacers. To put that into perspective, I look around this room and I see more than a few of you who have not even been around 41 years. It's also the longest current tenure of any NBA ownership, and it's one of the longest tenured ownerships in all of professional sports. As significant as that is, though, providing entertainment and a vital sports team for downtown Indianapolis is far from the only contribution that the Simon family has made. Among other things, the Simons have made sure that Pacers Sports and Entertainment has significant impact outside Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and the investment that the Simons have made across the state have made a considerable difference for countless families. Rachel Simon serves as the chair of the Pacers Foundation, and like the rest of her family, makes sure that that compassion and commitment are a big part of the culture of our company. Ladies and gentlemen, Rachel Simon.
Hi, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mark. Not as tall. As chair of the Pacers Foundation and on behalf of the Simon family, I want to echo a lot of the sentiments that we've heard today, especially what Coach said. Access to nutritional food is a basic right, not a luxury. We take immense pride in the partnership with Gleaners and the work that we've already accomplished. Late last year, our foundation embarked on a thorough strategic planning process. We identified 2 key areas of focus: health and fitness and educational disparities. As we know, food insecurity has far-reaching consequences, compromising physical and mental health and hindering our children's ability to learn in school. Hunger is unacceptable and nutrition is foundational. I'm incredibly grateful to you, Coach, for urging us to prioritize this in a meaningful way. And as you heard, nearly 1 million Hoosiers are currently facing some type of food insecurity. That underscores the need that this should extend far beyond Indianapolis. So I'm thrilled to announce that over the next decade, PS&E, the Pacers Foundation, Gleaners, and local partners throughout Indiana will collaborate to expand Drive and Dish to cities across the state. To truly combat the cycle of food insecurity, we need a collaborative and comprehensive approach. So in addition to expanding the Drive and Dish program, we also aim to serve as a convening hub for practitioners and policymakers, highlight best practices of the dedicated individuals and organizations, address root causes, and advocate for policy change in all levels of government. I want to emphasize that we don't have all the answers, and nobody does. However, as Indiana's basketball franchises, we have a unique opportunity and a responsibility to shine a light on this crisis. Lastly, I want to acknowledge the long-term commitment made possible by Stephen Rales and my father, Herb. They both made significant contributions, and their directive was clear to us: think big or go home. Think bigger programmatically, foster collaboration, share successful models, create lasting impact. And I think that together we can build a coalition that not only addresses the immediate food crisis, but also looks to dismantle the barriers contributing to the systemic food insecurity. We're all in, the organization is all in, and we're incredibly grateful to join alongside the community and Coach and everybody standing behind me in this endeavor. So thank you.
Corey Wilson is the VP for Community Engagement at Pacers Sports and Entertainment, and he has overseen all of our community efforts dating back to 2020. During that time, he has led the effort to direct our resources, our focus, our partnerships, and has been instrumental in our commitment to and investment in efforts like Drive and Dish. It is a pleasure to welcome our VP for Community Engagement, Corey Wilson.
Last one. So again, thank you all for coming. And I know I work for the Pacers, but let me start by saying welcome to Frederick Douglass. This is a beautiful, there's applause there. There's applause there. This is a beautiful day and a beautiful facility to be a part of. I have to echo all of the thank yous and appreciations that have been expressed to Coach for all of the texts, all of the calls that have come from his way in encouraging us towards this initiative. And the people behind me have been amazing to work with to bring this to a reality. As we wrap up this time here for the actual press conference portion, I'll highlight just a couple things. One, the current program that we have with Drive and Dish that we've been at for now almost a year continues. Krista Morehouse, the residents and the neighbors there will continue to be served through this program through December 31st. The residents and neighbors over at Krista Morehouse and Edna Martin, will continue to be served through this program through December 31st. Then we're making the transition that we're alluding here today starting January 1. So really excited to be able to continue serving our neighbors in those two communities and then pivoting here to Frederick Douglass and beyond. As has been said earlier, I want to thank those from the city of Indianapolis, particularly Malele Kennedy and Tequila Tinker Martin for their help in bringing Drive and Dish to life, as well as Latoya Pitts, who's the executive director of Christamore House, Barato Britt from Edna Barton Christian Center, who you'll hear from on the panel discussion, and Tom Hanley from 913 Logistics, who made this program what it is today. So we're really helpful and appreciative of the work that they have done to bring this to life, and I think they deserve a round of applause. So lastly, I'll just leave you with, how do you find out about this new program called Drive and Dish, powered by Gleaners2Go? So neighbors can text the word DRIVE, D-R-I-V-E, to 317-854-7707. Again, text DRIVE to 317-854-7707. That is how we will collect your information and be able to send out additional information. You do not have to live here in the Martindale-Brightwood neighborhood only to receive boxes. We want to begin collecting that, and we will push further updates for that information. So we're glad that you all were able to join us here today to learn about the next evolution of Drive and Dish.